If you're like so many people, you'll say, I just don't have enough time to accomplish what I need to in the day. Well, stick around because I want to show you an ultimate planner that I've created, and I'm going to teach you 3 things that you can do to help you focus and crush your day. Stay tuned. Hey everybody, Greg Barron, Professor of Real Estate. Thanks for joining us again today on the YouTube channel. And today I'm going to deviate just a little bit, and I'm going to talk about time management. You know, so many people ask me, how do you do what you do? We've got 5 operating companies, a lot of employees, a lot of decisions to be made. There's always decision points at every turn that I make, and yet there's a system that I use, and I'm not the only one who originated it, but I can guarantee you I plagiarized it, and it's the time management system. I believe in it so much, I wanted to cascade this system down to my staff and make this available to everybody else. And I created what's called the Ultimate Daily Planner. Now there's 3 important issues on a daily planner, and I will go over each of them. And if you do each of those 3 things, I can almost promise you, you're going to gain some time in your day. You're going to learn how to focus more, and you're going to lean in to this system that's going to allow you to do so much more to free up so much more time. So let's start with number 1. At the beginning of every day, I have 3 priorities that I want to accomplish. Now, there's been a lot of cognitive studies on priorities and multitasking, and believe it or not, the word multitasking to me is a bad word, because what happens is I'm not able to fully focus on the task at hand. So I've trained myself to start every day with this thought. What 3 things that are priority to this day, if I accomplish them at the end of that day, I would say that day is a success. That's my 3 priorities that I have on my daily planner that every day I write down. I memorialize them. I write it down. And that's one of the keys. Write down this every day. Now, I'm just like anybody else. Some days I get to the end of that day and one of those priorities hasn't been completed. But what it helps me to do is step back and say, I've got a lot of issues I need to settle. There was an article in Harvard Business Review, and it was also written up by James Carr in Atomic Habits, said that really multitasking takes you away from this focus. And the study basically concluded that trying to tackle too many priorities in each day actually resulted in diminishing returns of the quality of the productivity that you have. So for me, and the way that I lead and what I try to tell my staff and those that will listen to me is, try to step back and try to determine those 3 priorities that if you finish those successfully, you will stand back and you will say, I crushed my day. So I start with 3 priorities. Once I get to the 3 priorities, I go to what I call time blocking. Now in my planner, I call these E3 time blocking, but it's not something I created. It's something that I have stood on the shoulders of others that accomplished so much. Recently, I was listening to Jamie Dimon, one of the greatest bankers out there and certainly very successful, and somebody asked him, what is it that you do that makes you so successful? And he says, really, I've got the same 24 hours in a day. I take the same amount of vacation that my employees do. I have family time. I work out in the mornings. I read. I do all those things, but what I do differently is I squeeze my focus and priorities that I'm going to accomplish into the hours using time blocking, and I'm very fastidious and disciplined about maintaining that time blocking. Now, if you look at the example that I'm going to show you in my planner, that time blocking is segmented in blocks. And many times I'll finish my 3 daily priorities, and then I'll go back into my time blocking and I'll say, okay, how can I best appropriate my time? I've got many scheduled meetings that I place on there, and I block out my time for that. And then I start to fill in each of those areas. I resist the temptation to scroll on Facebook, to answer my text, and I also block off time when I specifically want to answer my emails. I know if you're like me, every time an email comes through, you get the ding. You get the ding. And a lot of us wants to look at it and we want to respond immediately. Well, what that does is it takes our focus off of the task at hand. Multitasking is not a way to do life. It's not a way to run a business. It's not a way to accomplish great things in your life. So if you'll learn to block off those times where you quit looking at your emails, you quit looking at your Facebook, you quit looking at your text, but give yourself that opportunity maybe later in the day and pick a time that you do it. There's always this thought that, well, you've got to respond while it's on your mind, or you've got to respond to the text immediately. It's actually not. What I've found is I will block off those times and people will wait on my response. The key is I do respond and I'm consistent in those responses. So time blocking allows me the opportunity to really focus on those things that I need to do. And believe me, this is like anything else. This is like working out. This is like eating right. 28 days makes a habit. It's going to take a while to get into a rhythm to where you're able to time block and do this. Sit down, look at your priorities, fill in the blanks on time blocking. Now, that doesn't mean that you're so inflexible that you don't save time for those important interruptions that you need to make. And that's what time blocking allows you to do. Because I do time blocking, when I do have those, and I won't necessarily call them interruptions, I will call them opportunities in my day when I need to visit, when somebody comes to my office, when my son calls me that hasn't called me for a week or two that I need to respond to. The mere fact that I've managed my day in really a focused, disciplined manner means that I also can free up some other time for doing those things that are really important. The last thing that I do is I always fill out and I try to keep a running tab of my SMART goals. Now, many of you probably already know what SMART goals are, but let's review the acronym. It's specific, it's measurable, it's achievable, realistic, and it's time bound. So I have a list at the bottom of my planner on every day that I can forward look in the future and I can constantly see what those SMART goals are. Now, sometimes they're business related, sometimes they're personal, sometimes it's about losing some weight. Well, God knows at my age, that's a daily endeavor. And so on each of those, I'm specific. I can measure it. It's achievable. I'm not trying to lose 30 pounds in a month. I'm trying to lose 3 pounds in a month. It's realistic. And I always make it time bound. I can tell you that it's amazing how when I write down these goals and I consistently look at them and keep them in front of me, how much I actually do achieve. It's honestly the only way that I can do what I do, stay focused, look at my priorities, populate my time blocking, and always have that forward look to SMART goals. This particular method is a winner. If you're interested in the book, I've got a link below, or go to my website, greglbarron.com. There's a link for the Ultimate Daily Planner, and there's a link for the Leader's Daily Planner. I'll talk about the Leader's Daily Planner in a subsequent YouTube. But for right now, check out the website. Be glad to get you a copy. I'm sure you'll be able to use it. Hey, thanks for joining me today. I hope some of this information was helpful. I know time management is one of those things that we always try to get better at. I think this system will work for you if you'll try it. As always, if you like the content, be sure and like and subscribe. And remember, educate, evaluate, so that you can ultimately execute to increase your own personal wealth. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you soon.